Hello, loved ones. How are you today? We're here at a little pond with bullfrogs and blackberry bushes and birds, and there was some geese on it with babies when I first got here. And this park is actually in the middle of town, so there's roads on both sides of it, so it's probably going to be noisy, but I wanted to do it here just because it's a beautiful spot and proof that you can find peace in the midst of everything else. So today I want to talk about the belief of hellfire. Now, how does this correspond to the core personality of God as being love? It doesn't. Today we're going to talk about why that has never come up into his heart. Now, on my website and in books, I've gone into great detail with all the scriptural things with it. But today, here out in the country, I just want to use reason and also talk about... You're going to talk too? This is a beautiful bird. Now, we have already talked about the core personality of God as being love, and how we don't have to be perfect. Hear the bullfrog in the back. You don't have to be perfect either. We don't have to be perfect to be loved perfectly by God. So just even as a parent, with the qualities that we were created with, because we're made in the image of God, which means the personality traits of love, which is like compassion and generosity and all those wonderful things. I mean, there's a big list about what love is, all the different facets. And we're here to polish different facets when we come in. So even as a parent, if your kids did something wrong, are you going to put their hand over a flame on your stove to teach them not to do it again, to teach them that that was the wrong choice that they had made? Of course not. It never comes up into your heart. The concept of hellfire has never come up into the heart of God either. In fact, there's scriptures that talk about the godless people, and one of the things that they did was they sacrificed their children in the fire to their gods, like at the high places of Topheth. The scriptures show God's disgust with the people about this and ask them how could they do such a thing, and that has never come up into his heart. Never. So taking that, just that, and taking the reasoning ability that we were created with and the facets of love, do you think a God of love would punish someone who maybe lived their whole life, maybe 70, 80, 90 years doing bad, and then penalize them for all time by torture? No, does not make sense. The false teaching of hellfire is one of the things that has turned people's hearts away from God, away from the churches, because they know in their spirit that that does not make sense, that God, that his core personality is of love, and that he would never do that. Now, the word hell, Hades, Sheol, is different from Gehenna, but these are all concepts of basically if you look up the original words, means pit. All right, not a place of torture. Now, Gehenna is a little bit of a different term because it actually references a valley outside of Jerusalem, the Valley of Hinnom. And that was one of the places that where children were sacrificed to the false gods by the pagan countries. And so this was a place that was detestable. And even some of God's own people at the time fell into doing that. And so it was a place of disgust. So it was then changed into a garbage dump so that nobody could go and do that anymore. It wasn't very far outside of Jerusalem. In fact, during the Holy Stigmata and such, I saw smoke rolling up over part of the town. And when I asked what this was, it was the smoke from the garbage dump. They keep it burning all the time, and everybody hates it because the smell is such a disgust. So it's also referenced to by Jesus as a place where the maggot never dies. And he also talks about be good to one another because you don't want to be thrown into Gehenna. Now, and then he says, where the fire never goes out and where the maggot never dies. Now, this wasn't about hellfire. This was about using something that everybody knew about at that time as a place of refuse, as a place of disgust. And yes, even dead bodies of people were thrown in there if they were not taken care of by their families. In other words, if somebody died of pauper in prison, in other words, somebody who didn't have any family who would come and take care of their body and bury it in a place of honor and give it some respect. So what Jesus was talking about was love your neighbor, love your family, be a good person, because you don't want to end up being thrown into the garbage dump when you die. So that's where it all came from. Now, through the years, as different religions and such have done, it has been used to persuade people as a place of fear to come to church, to give all your money to the church, to only go to our church and not that church, etc., etc. We are created to follow love, not to choose fear. So, in knowing the God of love, in knowing Jesus' personality that you can see clearly through the scriptures, the Son being a good reflection of the Father, why don't you throw out all those fear-based concepts? Because they're not true. They're not true at all. God is the one who created us with the qualities of compassion, generosity, kindness, healing, wisdom, patience. I mean, there's so many different things. Any of those go contrary to that concept. The Holy Scriptures and all the holy books are a mixture of symbolic and literal. Often people have a hard time discerning which is which. So that's why it's not about looking at the scriptures or the sayings and then working it backwards from there. Work it from the top down. Work it from that place of feeling the love of God when you're out in the country, in nature, in the forest, near the ocean. All the different places where you feel God. In music, in your paintings, with your pets, all the things that touch your heart, with your children, with your spouse. Then ask yourself, what do you want to believe is true of God? And then ask yourself, do I really believe that God could do such a thing as hellfire and torment? You know the answer already. All right, loved ones. Well, that's everything for today. We'll talk to you again later. Please like, subscribe, share the love. See you later. Bye-bye.